Hi, Beth. It's a summer's day and I have been cleaning. I've been cleaning the last few days and pulling things out of closets and going through storage areas in my basement. It's amazing what I am finding after being in this house for 20 plus years. And it's reminding me of how so many of us who have been home during this time have really started to kind of declutter, to go through and find things that are in our storage and go through and see what we no longer need and what can be kind of given away. And I'm finding it seems overwhelming. Some of it, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have this many boxes of things that I haven't gone through for years or got moved from one house to the next. But I feel it's also preparing me for eventually, my kids have are home, we're kind of empty nesters. So, or will be, once they get back after the pandemic, but, eventually we'll be moving on, not immediately, but so it's just kind of preparing for change. And I think we're always kind of clearing our clutter or we feel, and if we aren't doing it, like I don't always do it, then I feel such guilt and so forth. But when I do it, I feel so much clear. My head like clears when I create an environment around me that is decluttered and organized. I feel it so strongly and I feel good. I feel so good about it. And I feel that my outside environment really reflects how I feel inside.
Oh, 100%. I'm just laughing because whenever we do our videos, something always, comes up or pops up. And I'm in the basement right now because my air conditioning broke on the second floor. And the the clutter is all here in the basement. Well, it's away in our unfinished part. So we all have our rooms or our closets or our sections of our house where we shove all the clutter in. It's funny, I remember when my son was at summer camp and I went there and it was visiting day and his cubby looked so neat and everything looked so neat. And then I peeked under the bed and it was like just filled with stuff, clutter. So I completely relate to what you're saying, that our insides and how we feel on the inside, I feel affects the clutter in our house. I know myself when I am revved up or I am something's bothering me, I notice that I let the clutter build up. I'm not as interested in clearing it. It's almost as if my insides are mirroring what's going on in my house. And also what's on the outside affects the inside. So when there is clutter, I get more revved up. So I do feel that that pushing ourselves to clean the clutter really helps both ways. One, we can look at it and think, what is going on inside that gathering this clutter or leaving it. And two, how do I push myself to clean this up, knowing that it will bring me more peace, knowing it will be calming for me to know where everything is, to not have stuff everywhere, to be able to have a space like I always talk about a sacred space for meditation, but really our whole house can be a nice space to live in, or apartment, whatever we live in.
No, it's so true. And I think sometimes when you feel like you have so much around, you feel like you can't even breathe, that there's not that flow of things. And it does make you kind of anxious. I mean, for me, I feel when I have so much clutter, I see too much, like I don't feel peace. And then I'm less sensitive to the beauty around me. Like, I'm almost like overstimulated my system that I can't even take in like a bird singing, or I can't take in another person's energy. Like, what really are they feeling? I can't, I'm like almost like overstimulated and I can't even, it's almost like, I can't sense that. So I think you're right. I think it's how are we creating our living spaces to bring us joy? And really finding out, like, what is it that brings you joy? So before this call, I was telling you, Beth, that I had this little hydrangea plant that I bought at ShopRite, and I planted it several years ago next to the garage, and it just loves that space. And so I went and I just clipped some of the hydrangea because I love flowers. I love the beauty, and it brings me joy. It brings me peace, and it actually brings me so many memories too of so, I don't know, childhood days and running with my sisters in the woods. We used to explore woods, but find the things that bring the joy, that bring you peace. And for the other things that don't, give them away, or let release them, and they always say, one man's trash is another man's treasure, but it's really true. Like something that you no longer need, somebody does need. So I think especially during this time, we've been all kind of going through finding things and passing them along. It's like but pass with a heart. Everything that we've had meaning to it, and to give it with meaning, because our energy is still tied to it, but we honor it, and then we kind of just let it go, and know that it will go to wherever it's meant to be in its next, in that possession's, that object's next chapter. But it's releasing things that really don't, because what happens is when we don't, we get so weighed down that we can't really move.
Yeah, absolutely. You're reminding me, I just wrote a piece on taking out the trash. That
Mm.
a lot of time, people who are empathic or sensitive, and this happened to me, and it's on my personal Facebook page if you want to check it out. But I was in grad school, and I was seeing a lot of patients in an internship, and I began to get really weighed down. I was weighed down with all their trash because they were dumping it onto me, which is what I was there for. I was there to learn how to be do counseling, but I didn't know I was that empathic and sensitive. And I began to get very weighed down to a point where I could not get out of bed, and I had to leave the program because I didn't realize, had somebody said to me back then, hey, you're an empath, you need to take out the trash, I would have said, well, first of all, what is that? And second of
Yeah.
all, how do I do that? And so this whole topic is reminding me of that. And so once I learned that those of us who are sensitive, or even those of us who aren't, that we can accumulate other people's clutter or trash within us. And when we talk about our emotions and our feelings, we always talk about just letting them come up and releasing them, letting them come in, flow through you, and flow out of you. So we can collect clutter inside of us, and we can collect that clutter, and we need to take out the trash. Just like we put our trash out every week and we put our recycling out, we need to take out the trash. And the way we do that is we name what we're feeling, and we then say, I release this. I release this to wherever you want to release. I release this to the universe. I release this to, to wherever, whatever you feel comfortable with. Because it weighs us down. It's exactly what you're talking about. And the same thing happens with the clutter in our house. And it is about letting go, not holding on and gripping onto something. That we all have our wonderful memories. And, I have so many pictures that it's very hard to depart and to let those go, even though I might have the same picture that I took 30 times when my kids were little, that I probably don't need all 30 pictures of the same exact, within the same 20 minutes that I took it. And of course, now all of our pictures are online, so that's not as big of an issue, but we all have memories and things we collect that really touch us and touch our heart. And those are, we can pick and choose what we want to let go of and what we want to release. And I'm the worst at it, because I have boxes of old letters from old boyfriends and old friends. I have notes that I passed in 6th grade that people have passed to me, but I've been resistant to go through it. And so it is a form of letting go. It's a form of acknowledging where you're at, and to keep some of them if you'd like. But really, it's so freeing if we could do the task of going through our clutter. An old pot or pan is easy, but the things that mean something to us, should know that it's all inside of us. Of course, we keep the picture, we keep, some of what we want, but we're already beyond that point in our life anyway. We'll always treasure it, we'll always love it, but to be able to release it is freeing, because what's coming up in the, what are we holding on to that's preventing us from opening up to what's next?
It's so true. If your hands are so filled with things, you can't receive anything more because it would all kind of just fall over. But I think that's so true. I think you're right. So true that what all of that, especially all the things that have such sentimental meaning to it, that are infused with such love, that they are all kind of stored like a big data drive in your heart. You still have them in your heart, and you choose selectively the things that you really want to hang on to. What I found when you're mentioning about the letters, I was going through some boxes of letters the other week, and I was finding pictures of my roommate in Washington who passed when she was in her 20s, and I visited her parents, and I kind of tucked them in an envelope to write to her parents and send these pictures that we had of dressing up at Halloween in Washington and all the different things that they haven't seen, to just send those. I mean, it's been many, many years. And then another, a friend's mother, when my daughter had cancer, had written a beautiful note. And now that mother has passed, and my friend's really struggling. It's hard when we lose our parents, and especially our mothers. There's something, and so I put those aside. So I'm gonna write a note and tuck those in. So I'm just gonna kind of pass it forward, and to honor them, but also to send them to as joy to those whose hearts are connected, like a child or like a mother. So I think that's also, it's we're letting go of things, but we're actually cherishing them, and we're honoring them by how we're letting them go. And I think it gives me peace sometimes to, I don't need all these letters nor the photographs, but to make sure that they go to people that are gonna, it's just gonna bring joy to them. It's gonna keep that memory of them, that your mother is so cherished. I so appreciate all that she did for me, and so forth. So that's just sort of one idea, in order to kind of release it and to give it its own wings.
And that's beautiful. It gives you, actually makes it easier to
Mhm.
have some sort of not ritual, but have some, to place some sort of meaning, maybe even talk about it, and think about what that memory is, and before you let it go. And so I'm hearing from Archangel Gabriel, because he's always popping his popping in. I was gonna say popping his head in, but he doesn't have a head, but he's always popping in. And what I'm hearing from the other side is that we're really talking about attachments, and what we're talking about is what's in our heart shows up in our environment. And so we're really talking about decluttering our heart and releasing attachments. And attachments is something that we do here as humans, that we attach to stuff, we attach to people, we do form these attachments, but we can hold on to them when they need to be released. We can hold on to them a bit too long, and then our heart does not open up to where it needs to go, and our path is not as clear as where we need to go. So we're talking about decluttering our heart to release, to cherish those memories, and then to release them, to have an emotion and then to release it, and to not grip onto it for the sake of not wanting to feel the sadness or feel nostalgic, or whatever it is. But we're meant to keep flowing. We're fluid. As humans, we're meant to keep the flow going in our life. We're meant to release. We're meant to not to grip onto something so tightly.
I'm feeling such emotion right now. I'm just like, you're so right. It's all speaks to the heart, and it speaks to love. And I'm sorry, I just feel
That's
such
okay.
emotion. But I have Archangel Michael, and I'm just feeling so much love for everybody. So it's almost like a boomerang.
Give
So
some of
what
that
you're doing,
to me. Give me some of that love.
I love you. I love you. I so love you, Beth. But it is so much of what we're doing is we're gifting love. So sorry. So when we send it out, it's like a boomerang. So when we pass along something, we're passing it with love, even if we're giving it away and it doesn't fit anymore or whatever, but we're passing it with our love and that energy is actually staying with that object. And it's not the object itself, it's the love that is being, it's like a messages of love. You're sending messages of love with your possessions, with an object, but you're sending messages of love with just even your words, just even a hello or a, how are you, or whatever, whatever words you're sharing. Our words and our thoughts are actually sharing so much love. And but what you're putting out there is actually coming right back at you. It's this over and over. What we put out comes back tenfold. And
So
that's another reason why it's so important what we're is on the inside that is creating the outside, because it's gonna, be this, as you said, this back and forth flow.
the flow. So when we have a cluttered heart, or when we have a cluttered house, um, it does prevent that flow, because what is the most important thing? What is, when that clutter, whatever's surrounding your heart, whatever's protecting you, whatever we're gripping onto or holding, what is in there is love. And you and I talked about these. We talk about every day the importance of love, and so that is what we're almost protecting ourselves by surrounding ourselves with the clutter, or um, whatever it is that we're not releasing when it's time to release. And while it feels like we're protecting ourselves, we're also shielding ourselves off from that love, that deep love and that deep knowing. And so I just have to say, it can be a difficult process to release your clutter and to clean it out, because it is emotional. And whether it's clutter in your heart or clutter in your house, I just keep reminding of people who surround themselves with clutter, um, and who are in their small spaces, and they have piles and piles of newspapers and everything. It's the only way for them to feel safe and secure. And there's too much anxiety with releasing and ridding themselves of that clutter. And so they're attached to all this stuff. Um, and I don't make light of that at all, because that's a serious struggle for people who go through that. Um, and it's just on a continuum, and that's at the other end. But what we're talking about is, we can have similar feelings to that. We can have even some anxiety about releasing our clutter, about releasing our feelings, about releasing our attachments to a person, or to our stuff, or to whatever. But I can say what I've received from the other side is that there's so much waiting for us if we could bear down and do it.
Oh,
If
that
we, if
there's
we
an
can let it.
abundance. You're so right, Beth. There's such an abundance that is just waiting to be received. And again, if we have to kind of clean house inside and out. I know for me, things that, that I haven't felt so great, that I've, things maybe I've said, or things I've done that was not my highest kind of self and so forth. I have to, just like forgive myself, and to love myself and say, okay, you recognize that. And for me just to let go of, and there's always change. There's always, is to love yourself fully for all of it, because we're having a human experience with the all of it, right, with all the different feelings and emotions, and to honor them, but to honor them with love, and particularly honor yourself with love. I think
Mhm.
we've heard this over and over, and we've known it for ourselves, that to honor yourself, with the love, and it enables you to, it empowers you, it lifts you to a place where you can actually change feelings. And when you change your feelings, you change your thoughts. They're so intertwined. And and it's what we think and what we feel that becomes out pictured in our world around us.
Yeah.
So it's also interconnected. So when we change that, when we move into a sense of peace, we move into a sense of love, of compassion for ourselves and others, we start to see it everywhere. It's just, it just manifests itself, and then more and more comes. I mean, and that abundance and the gifts that you can't even imagine are just coming, are just being bestowed upon you, always.
Yeah, we almost have to go in faith. You know, when we start cleaning the clutter in our heart or in our house, we have to go into faith that we're not going to see the other side yet. We're not going to see what's going to be brought in when we clear our spaces. We're not going to see it. So we have to go on faith, knowing that whatever we release emotionally, whatever we release physically, there's going to be something there for us that's really awesome. And I just want to add that when I was hearing from the other side that de- saying I'm sorry is decluttering our
Mm.
our house, our heart. Saying I love you is decluttering our heart. Our words we could use to declutter what's in our heart. Telling someone how you feel, telling someone I'm sorry, telling someone I love you. Those are ways to declutter our heart. Those are ways to bring out feelings that are stuck. And stuck feelings are just like stuff that's piled up around us. Um, and and using our words helps to declutter. They're like it's like your own big bin that that we could have next to our heart, just like the bin that we have when we start throwing away all our garbage.
And I think that's so healing. I mean, what you're speaking to so beautifully is that we're lifting off layers, and in doing so, we're healing. And what we heal for ourselves, we heal for others. I mean, it's just that intrinsic connection that we have with one another. And it lifts us and it brings us so much love. It brings us so much peace. It brings us so much joy. And it just opens us up to the abundance of possibilities, the abundance of gifts, the abundance of the wonder. There's so much wonder to be explored. There's so much to be experienced. And to just be gentle with yourself and to know, again, you're so worthy, you're so loved. We're all in this together. We all have our stuff, right? We have our stuff, and then we have our stuff. So we have, it's just, loving it. Love it all. It's and what a wonderful gift our stuff is that enables us to tap into this bountiful gifts of love and release. Who knew? Who knew that cleaning your house could bring so much, right?
And it's healing. It'll help to heal things about you, and not well things in your heart that need healing.
So beautiful. So I think with that, we just wish you joy. We send you with love. Thank you for all you're doing to clean up our world, to clean it up, our planet, to clean up our hearts, and just to share your love and joy and peace. And everything on the inside is coming on the outside and right, mirrored back. So our love to you and happy decluttering.
Thank you for listening.